Hare Krishna. Summary of Canto 4, Chapter 14. The story of King Vena. Upon the departure of King Anga, the sages coronated his son Vena as the king. The sages headed by Bhrigu, who always thought of the welfare of the people, could see that without a ruler, people would stoop to the level of animals, completely independent and non-regulated. They called the queen Mother Sunita, and with her permission they enthroned Vena as the king, though the ministers disagreed. Vena's cruelty was well known, therefore when the thieves heard about his coronation they became very well afraid and they hid themselves. When Vena ascended to the throne he became very proud of his wealth in all directions. He considered himself as the greatest and he began insulting great personalities. He was intoxicated, very proud and uncontrolled, and he traveled everywhere, causing the earth and sky to tremble. Sounding kettle drums throughout the countryside, he forbade all the Brahmanas from performing sacrifices, charity, and religious activities. Seeing Vena's atrocities and considering the danger of the people, the sages began to discuss among themselves out of compassion for the people. They thought the people are in danger from all directions because of an irresponsible king. It is like a log with fire blazing at both ends. Fearing the state without a king and the resultant political crisis, we made an unqualified Vena as a king. But now the people are being disturbed by the king himself. By nature he is very mischievous because of being born from Sunita. Supporting this wicked king is like maintaining a snake by giving the snake lots of milk. We appointed him to protect citizens, but now he has become their enemy. We should try to pacify him so that his sins do not affect us. If he does not accept our advice, we shall burn that sinner into ashes with our powers. He is already completely condemned by the public and he's been heavily criticized. Saintly people in general are not interested in political matters, yet they are always concerned about the welfare of people in general. So deciding like this, the sages approached Vena. Concealing their anger, they began to pacify him with sweet words. They told him, "O king, please hear us. Please hear our good advice attentively. Doing so, it will increase your life duration, opulence, strength, and fame. Those who follow dharma with words, body, mind, and intelligence become free from miseries. Thus, being free from material influence, they achieve liberation. Your activities should not be the cause of spoiling the spiritual life of your citizens, as this will lead to your fall down from the royal position." A pious king who protects his citizens from mischievous ministers, thieves, rogues, and so on can accept taxes and enjoy both in this world and the next. A pious king in whose state Varnashrama is strictly observed and where all the citizens worship the Supreme Lord by their occupations gives satisfaction to the Lord. When the Lord is satisfied, what is impossible to achieve? For this reason, all the demigods and inhabitants of various planets take pleasure in offering all the kinds of paraphernalia for the Lord's worship. The Lord is the ultimate enjoyer and the result of all sacrifices actually belongs to Him. He is the sum total of all the Vedas. He is the knower of all the ingredients of sacrifice, and He is the ultimate goal of all possible austerity. Therefore, you should direct your citizens to worship the Lord through sacrifices for your own prosperity. When the demigods who are expansions of the Lord are satisfied, they will give you the desired results. But if you stop the sacrifices, you will disrespect the demigods. At that time, Vena gave an arrogant reply to the sages. He said, "You are inexperienced. It is regrettable that you are considering adharma to be dharma. You're giving up your real husband, who is me, and you're searching for a paramour, who's that supreme Lord. Those who out of ignorance do not worship the king, who is actually the supreme Lord, experience happiness neither in this world nor the next. Your affection for the demigods is exactly like the affection of an unchaste woman who gives up affection to her husband for the sake of a paramour. The king is the reservoir of all demigods. Vishnu, Brahma, Shiva, Indra, Vayu, Agni, Varuna, all others who are competent to bestow benedictions or curses All of them reside in the body of the king. So just worship me with all your offerings and abandon the envy that you have for me. Who accept me is to enjoy the first oblations in all the sacrifices. Thus, Vena, who developed this perverse intelligence, who sinned, who deviated from the right path, who had lost all good fortune, who thought himself to be very learned, could not accept the respectful requests of the sages. Feeling very broken-hearted, the sages became very angry at him and began to speak among themselves. Kill him! He is the most dreadful. If he lives, he will quickly turn the whole world into ashes. Saintly people are generally very kind to everyone. But if the king becomes so demoniac like serpents and scorpions, it's their duty to replace this government with deserving persons who follow the instructions of saintly persons. They thought this impudent and shameless person who blasphemed Lord Vishnu does not deserve to sit on the throne. Who except him would criticize the Lord, by whose mercy one gets all good fortune and opulence. Vena was as good as dead due to his blaspheming of the Lord. Now the sages, manifesting their covert anger without any weapons, killed Vena simply by angry words. After the sages left, Vena's mother Sunita, being aggrieved, preserved this dead body that was killed by the mantras of the sages, by the words of the sages. She preserved the dead body with special ingredients and mantras. Once the sages assembled on the bank of the river Saraswati and began to discuss about transcendental subject matters. Observing various disturbances in the country, they considered that misfortune may befall the people due to thieves in the absence of a king. While thus discussing, they saw a great dust storm caused by running thieves and rogues who were plundering the citizens. The sages understood that the dust storm to be caused by an uprising running of the plunderers who were taking advantage of the kingless state. Although the powerful sages could subdue them, they considered it improper on their part to do so. Although a Brahmana is peaceful and equipoised, still he should not neglect pure humans. Such neglect will diminish his spiritual power, just as water is kept in a cracked pot leaks out. So the sages were thinking like that, and they decided to churn Vena's thighs and his entire body so that they could produce a king. They thought Anga's dynasty should continue. So the sages decided that the dynasty of saintly Anga should not be stopped, as in this dynasty the kings were of unfailing strength and prone to become devotees of the Lord. The purity of hereditary seminal succession in twice-born families is called Amogha Virya. This purity is because of observing samskaras or purificatory processes. Maharaj Anga was very pure coming in the seminal succession of Dhruva Maharaj, but his semen was contaminated by the association of his wife Sunita, the daughter of death personified, due to which wicked Vena was born. However, the ingredients by which another body could be produced were present in Vena's body. The sages knew the method of producing another body from it. Thus, first they churned the thighs of Vena's dead body in a specific method, and a dwarf-like person named Bahuka was born. This person was blackish, short, with short limbs, large jaws, a flat nose, reddish eyes, and copper-colored hair. He submissively bowed down and he asked, "Oh sirs, what should I do?" The sages replied, "Please sit, Nishidha." Thus, he became the father of the Nishada race. Because of accepting the terrible sins of Vena, on being born, Nishada's descendants are always engaged in sinful activities and reside in the hills and forests. Vena's body was produced from both Anga and Sunita. The impure portion of Vena's body resulting from Sunita was separated by the sages in the form of the degraded Bahuka. Now, the pure portion of Vena's body resulting from saintly Anga would, in the future, give birth to Maharaja Prithu. Thus ends the summary of Canto 4, Chapter 14, The Story of King Vena. Hare Krishna.